All right, today we are jumping into a prehistoric investigation. Think of it as a cold case, literally frozen in time. We've got a terrifying suspect, a game-changing weapon, and a mystery that pits a really compelling story against some hard, cold science. So let's open the file and look at the evidence.
First up, meet our prime suspect, the giant short-faced bear. Now, this wasn't just any bear. This was, without a doubt, one of the biggest and baddest land predators of the entire Ice Age, a true monster that roamed all over North America.
And that brings us to the heart of the mystery. There's this incredible story that early humans, faced with this absolute beast, were pushed into a kind of arms race, that they had to invent a whole new weapon system just to stand a chance. It's a heck of a story, but is it true?
To crack this case, we first have to understand what we're dealing with. So let's build a profile of this Ice Age heavyweight. You know, it's easy to just think of it as a bigger grizzly, but it was a totally different animal. Standing up, it could be up to 14 feet tall. Its limbs were longer, more slender, it was built for running, and its whole anatomy just screams hypercarnivore, way more than any bear alive today.
And this image, well, it really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? Forget the bears you see on TV. Coming face to face with one of these would be like staring down a small car that wants to eat you. It was an absolute monster.
Okay, so we've got our suspect profiled. Now, let's look at the other major piece of evidence in this case. A sudden, dramatic, and frankly, total shift in hunting technology that's been perfectly preserved in the Yukon ice.
For almost 8,000 years, the go-to weapon was the dart, launched with a tool called an atlatl, or a spear thrower. From the oldest artifacts we have, this was the system. It dominated. It worked. And it worked for a very, very long time.
So the atlatl basically acts as a lever, right? It makes your arm longer, letting you throw that dart with way more power and speed than you could ever manage by hand. And the incredible part is, we know this because archaeologists are literally pulling these perfectly preserved dart shafts right out of the melting ice. Then, around 1,200 years ago, everything changes. The record just stops. After millennia of the same proven technology, the dart system that guaranteed survival for generations just vanishes. Before this point, it's all darts. After this point, nothing.
And this is what replaced it, the bow and arrow. I mean, this is a completely different system. Lighter projectiles, faster delivery. It changed the entire game of hunting.
And here's the really crucial part. This wasn't a slow transition. The evidence from the ice shows that people didn't just phase out the dart, they completely abandoned it for the bow. It was a full-blown technological revolution.
Okay, so let's recap. We have a terrifying predator, and we have the sudden appearance of a much better weapon. The story pretty much writes itself, doesn't it? Well, this is where our cold case takes a sharp and completely unexpected turn. Let's put these two timelines together.
I mean, the obvious conclusion is an arms race. To take on the biggest bear that ever lived, you need a bigger, better weapon. It's such a compelling narrative, but in any good investigation, you have to check your timeline. And here is the twist that just blows the whole case wide open. The radiocarbon dating is clear. The last of the giant short-faced bears went extinct around 11,500 years ago. But the bow and arrow, it doesn't show up in the Yukon until 1,200 years ago. That's a gap of over 10,000 years.
So there you have it, case closed. The giant short-faced bear has an ironclad alibi. It couldn't have sparked this arms race because it had been extinct for 10 millennia before the bow and arrow ever showed up in the Yukon.
So, if our prime suspect is innocent, what really happened? What could possibly force people to make such a drastic technological change after thousands of years of doing things the same way? Well, the real answer, it turns out, fell from the sky.
I mean, just think about that for a second. To just abandon a tool that has kept your people alive for generations, the pressure must have been immense. It had to be something truly catastrophic, something that changed your entire world.
And the evidence points to a completely different culprit. The timing of this big weapons shift lines up perfectly, not with a predator, but with a massive volcanic eruption that completely blanketed the region in a thick layer of ash.
This eruption would have been absolutely devastating. It would have choked out plants, which would have crushed the animal populations, like caribou, that people needed to survive. So suddenly, food is incredibly scarce. The pressure to hunt more efficiently would have been enormous. With a bow, you can carry more ammo, you can reload faster, you can hunt better. The bow and arrow wasn't developed to fight a monster. It was adapted to survive in a world where every single hunt mattered.
You know, what's so cool about this prehistoric cold case is that it's a fantastic lesson in how science actually works, and how solid evidence can completely overturn even the most awesome stories.
These incredible discoveries aren't just abstract data points. They're the result of incredibly hard work by archaeologists and their First Nations partners, who are carefully recovering a story that has been locked in the ice for thousands of years.
And that's really the big takeaway here. The idea of an epic arms race against an Ice Age superpredator, it's a fantastic story. But the patient, careful work of science tells us the truth. The real driver of this huge innovation wasn't a monster. It was the struggle for survival in the face of an environmental collapse.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? As the world's ice continues to melt, it's acting like a time capsule, slowly opening up and revealing its secrets. What other cold cases and what other forgotten stories are just waiting in there for us to find?